so much of this correlates to business as well. I mean, Kevin and I as business partners working on a lot of things. I mean, we're often in situations where we have to have some tough business conversations, and I would say, Kevin and I have done this well over the last almost 5 years working together of having some tough conversations. But I think there's a lot of head trash that pops up because of these stories we tell ourselves about what they're going to say, how they're going to respond. And I think we build up a lot of these perceived thought processes or these perceived reactions of how they're going to do things. And I think that carries out through a lot of things and how we show up in life. So when somebody is spent so much time building a story up in their head that may or may not be true, is it just simply a matter of having the conversation? Is it rethinking the story they're telling themselves? Is it challenging their own thought process? What do they have to do internally to shift to be able to have those tougher conversations?
I'm gonna say something that sounds really easy, but we're all leaders, we're problem solvers, and chances are, if this podcast is still resonating with you, you're living this. You're probably even leaning in. You're turning it up. It's like, what the fuck do I do about this? And the answer is astonishingly simple. Just fucking talk to them. Go. Just you've got to carve out the time. You got to carve out the time. So the conversation with your spouse, the conversation needs to be alone. It needs to be just the two of you, and it needs to be at a time and a place where you can't be interrupted. Have a date night. Go on a drive. Do whatever. But have this basic opening in place and walk into it. Walk into the conversation. And the other thing I'll say is don't overthink it. Don't, because if you put this out there 3 weeks and you start to write down the questions, I think you're overthinking it. I think what you have to get across is, I care about what you're thinking, honey. I care about where you're going. I'm curious about how aligned our dreams are for 3, 5, and 10 years from now. And I want to convey to you how I'm feeling about where I am. That's it. Don't overthink this. Like, don't make it bigger than it is. And we do that. We are going to assume that we're going to freak them out in some way. And here's what's going to happen. I promise you, when you get done with the conversation, or during the conversation, your wife, I'm talking about me. My wife asked me, how long have you been feeling this way? And I'm like, a couple of years. And she's like, why didn't you did it? Why'd you wait so long to tell me? And the other thing I'll say is, so it's like, I didn't know, I didn't want to worry you. And she's like, the other thing she said is, I've known this for 2 years. I just didn't know when you wanted to talk about it. If you think for a second that your wife doesn't know that you're an asshole, that you come home grumpy, that you're distant, that you're working on vacation, that you're not really present when they're around, that you escape to work out for a myriad of reasons, that it's all part of a work-related problem you've got, you're crazy. They know it. They know it. And they're waiting for you to finally have the courage to talk to them about how you're feeling. It will not be a surprise.
Yeah, 100% agree with that, because I swear my wife knows me better than I know her. And there's often times where I will say something and she'll look right at me and be like, and, or you telling me that, like, it's a secret of some sort, or the likes. It's always funny how well, they really do know us, so let's say they've had a conversation, right? And now they've got to go back and have the second conversation, which is now with the company, right? They're going to make this leap. They're going to launch and go leave whatever and chase a different dream or a different life, more likely. What happens next? For me, I scheduled a meeting with my business partner at that point and said, hey, tomorrow afternoon, can we talk? And his text reply was 3 dots. And he said, that was a very short ask. Should I be concerned? Right. And that's how, I set the stage that I was going to tell him that I was going to turn down buying the company and everything and leave it all behind. What do most people have to do in that moment when they decide to make the leap?
Yeah. So there's this period of time typically between getting on the same page with your team, which is the people you share a house with, and figuring out what you want to do. And I've got so many people, like I said, going back to these rambles, 300 people in the last year, they come to me and they're like, "Hey, dude, you're in my head. I relate to everything you're saying. I'm miserable. I feel like I'm on autopilot. I'm frustrated. I feel controlled. I'm unhappy. I'm lost. I'm all of these things you talk about, and I'm willing to trade it. I am willing to give this up, man. Just like you, Donnie, you are willing to give up buying this company. The problem is everybody who calls me, and they're everywhere. They're everywhere. By the way, these are medical doctors. These are people in the medical profession. These are attorneys. These are accountants who are partnered, and these are professors who are tenured. It's usually the people who've had to grind and dedicate their entire life to one thing who find me. And they're like, I've done it, but I don't know what I'm going to trade it for. I'm willing to trade, dude. I promise you I'm willing. I just have no idea what I'm going to trade it on. So they come to me. My role in this process is to wake them up that they've got control, and two, let's figure this out, baby. Let's figure this out. And there's a process we go through to figure it out before you get to the ultimate, okay, let's go tell your boss. Now, everybody does it different, Donnie. You went in and said, I've decided this isn't for me. I'm out. That's how you're wired. You're
And 15 days later, I was out,
That's right.
right?
That's right. And there are people, I actually have, you can book a call with me. It's called I Quit, Now What? And that's what happens. That would have been you. I quit. It's like, that felt great for a couple of weeks. Now it feels like my vacation's over. Shit. Right. Now what? The process is the same. It's just the anxiety is a little tighter because you don't have the W-2 anymore. But the process is the same. So we walk through this process. Look, one of the things that happens on your journey is you forget to dream. You forget what you used to want to do and who you used to want to be and who you used to love to help. You forget because you're so goddamn busy wondering about the report you've got to do this month. This maybe later today, the meeting you got to run tomorrow, and the expectation of your board of director and your boss next week. You're so busy worried about that you forgot that you wanted to play guitar. You forgot that you really enjoyed working for this charity. You forgot all of these things that you used to want to do and that you used to love to spend time doing because you haven't had time. So what do? You got to start exploring that, man. That's step one. And you can start that today. I tell people, what's one thing you used to love to do? Go do it. You still love to play guitar? Buy one. It's $90 at a pawn shop. Go buy one and see if you still love it. If you don't, you can sell it back to the pawn shop for $70. Cost you $20, man. But it's exploring. And then you got to learn, you got to invest, you got to spend some money. You got to, do the things like hire a coach, hire somebody who's been through it, spend some money to figure it out. And then you got to test your thesis. And this is a long way of saying if in an ideal world, most people want to have some clarity on what's next before they jump out of the airplane. And I get that. And then you test your thesis. I believe that I want to start my own company that inspires people to live the life that they want to live and make the hard decisions and the hard trades along the way, improve relationships with their home. And maybe, just maybe, over the course of the rest of their lives, I will have made an impact on them. That's my mission. That's what inspires me. And the more I did that and the more I leaned into that, not caring about how I was going to make money at it yet, just does it make me feel really fucking good? That became the courage. That formed the courage that we talked about off the bat to say, all right, I'm ready. It's not going to be easy still. I still am not going to replace my income, but now I've got the courage to lean into this because it feels right and I'm good at it.